TitleMatchNetwork.com.
I guess, what are your memories of your series of matches with Scott Hall?
I knew that he did, like, he'd worked with Sean for so long, and it was just like, they were on autopilot. And, Sean's really athletic. He's smaller. You can toss him around. And then, for them to say, okay, now you're going to work with this big cement mixer. I know Scott was like, oh, God.
Right.
Like, I don't want to work with this guy. I don't want to smarten him up. But that's the whole thing is, you have to smarten the guy if you're working with, or, you're going to have shit matches. And we ended up having a really good chemistry. It was a lot different. It was more of a street fight than it was an athletic contest. But, I mean, it worked for both of us. We had a good run together. Had good, once again, to me, Scott's the best worker probably that I've ever worked with, because Scott was 6'5", 6'6". Scott could work with Sean. Scott could work with kids. Scott could work with me, Sid.
Right.
I mean, he was such a great worker, He just had so many demons.
I guess back then, Mountain Rock, he did a thing with his home video camera. We had the guys taking drugs and all that shit. What are your thoughts on that whole entire deal? He was going to market it, I think, or something.
I never saw it.
Okay.
Did you ever see it?
I seen clips of it. He put on the internet, and for whatever reason, it was never, put out. Obviously, I guess he got, threatened by a lawsuit or something like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, what's the question? What I think about him doing that behind everybody's back? What I think about how bad the drug use was?
I'll ask you about the drug use later on. I mean, I guess the guys didn't even know that he was filming, or?
No. No. But you know what? I don't think it would have mattered.
Right, exactly.
If he would have said, "Hey, I'm filming this," I think he'd probably got more. That's where he probably, it was pretty wide. It was.
What was the drug use like back then at that time period? Because I know the road schedule was crazy and all that.
Couldn't smoke dope. Okay, so you take that out of the equation. It's just like, so the only thing you can do is you can take pills, and you can drink booze.
Right.
If you're one of the top guys, I mean, most guys drink beer. Most guys don't drink liquor. So you can't be, bloated toad and drink, by this time, it takes 20 beers to get a buzz. So, it's like, well, I got to work every night, so I can't be a bloated toad with a big fat beer gut. So it's like, you take pills,
right,
and just kick them in with 4 or 5 beers, and I'd never taken a pharmaceutical drug in my life before I got into bodybuilding. I mean, until I got in the wrestling industry.
What was your, drug of choice, if you want to talk about it?
Well, I had to, I was in that Soma era,
Everybody, yeah.
Somas were very popular, muscle relaxers. They just, they whack you.
Huh.
Sometimes one night you take 3 as your opening volley and it would do nothing. Other nights you take 3 and it'd be like, it was just weird. And we had all these different theories where carbohydrates kicked them in, and pizza right after it, and bang, we had all these theories of what made Somas work. And, we'd get the Mexican bootleg ones, and those were horrible. And so we get some script ones and 2 of those, and you take 12 of this. It's amazing that your heart's a muscle. You're eating 25 muscle relaxers a night.
Right.
Drinking 20 beers. You say you're not going to drink, but once you get all whacked, you drink. But then Xanax were another one. The 2 milligram Xanax were a popular amongst my running mates and myself. Those. When I first broke in, we had Placibills. The greenies, the 750s. We had Placibills. And one time, Kid brought phenobarbital on a European trip, like a big vat of them. It was just like a bunch of monkeys in a room. Like, what do phenobarbital do? They're barbiturate. They got caffeine in them. That can't be that bad. We can take 3? I'll take 3 before we wrestle.
Oh,
So it was, but it was such a. It was like you were like a family. It was like almost like a fraternity, like a frat. Even guys you didn't like you go out to a bar and the guys that you didn't particularly, and I'm not saying you didn't like them because it wasn't anybody that, all the time I've been in this business, there's never been a guy that I can say, boy, I really just don't like him or I hate him or,
right.
You know, I mean, there's been a lot of guys I'm sure that have said that about me, but I never had that, you know, like any malice towards anybody or anything like that. It's just like, you were kind of like, it was like family. Like, you might not have been my favorite brother, but you were my, and I mean, so many times we'd be out and it'd be like, hey man, what's that asshole doing over there? I don't know, but those hockey guys from the other town are messing with him. It'd be like 9, you know.
Right.
He might not have been our buddy, but you know, you didn't mess with anybody in that locker room. Got it. So then it was a couple more days, and after that, it was just that grind. It was just like, you know, you mentally were so, you were so stretched mentally because you had to be on so often, and just that, you know, that you had to be able to shut you, and you couldn't. You'd get home at night and be, you know, it was. You got 3-4 guys in a Super 8, you know, sleeping, you know, I mean, nobody's making any money.
Right.
TVs were $50 you got paid, which, you know, good luck spending $50 in the Northeast getting a car and a hotel and food. And, you know, you're getting lunch meat when you go to the TV taping at WWF. So it was like, it was really different times. And, you know, God, you had to be able to shut that off. And sometimes, man, the only way you could do it was get a buzz. And, you know, it's just like, Scott and I had a conversation months ago. We were talking about, was there anybody that at that time on our roster that wasn't just getting whacked every night? And we laughed and said, not that we were hanging out with. You know, it was just like, you know, you go there and, you know, it'd be like you walk in and here'd come Yoko with like a tray of like 50 shots of Jack. And then, you know, and you'd have to, and the thing was, the guys would toss them over the shoulders. The night went on. So you had to do them, like hold it and the guy would go, and then you'd have to gargle it and then swallow it so nobody could throw the shots.
Right.
So, you know, you do that and be like, oh God, and here come Taker with another tray. You know, and it just like, but it just, and it was that kind of every single night. You know, it's amazing. You know, a lot of guys died. It's amazing it wasn't 10 times.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, the thing is, it's just like people always blame Vince. You know, it's just like, I never once got a memo saying I had to take pills.
Right.
You know, I had to stay up all night and party and drink. I never got the memo. I don't think anybody else did. It's just that, you know.
Part of the business?
Yeah, it was at that time. I just think that, you know, especially that Minnesota crew. Oh, the business is done in the bar.
Right.
You know, that whole Minnesota crew always, that was, you know, Rude always said that. You know, business,
Rude.
Yeah. You know, business is done in the bar. That's where all the business gets done.
I know he's your friend and stuff like that, so I don't know how deep you want to go into this. But when do you think Scott's abuse to like alcohol started getting out of control and maybe affected business?
I think when he got divorced.
Okay.
When he got divorced, and you know, because I think a lot of times that family really kind of keeps you, you know, tight. So I think when his divorce was, and then it was a back and forth thing after that for years. They got remarried, and blah 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 blah. And I just think that he got into that, and he'd always had a tendency to lead that way. But I just think that when there wasn't somebody there to really say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and he was just kind of, you know, I just think that the demons finally got him.
Did anyone ever say anything to you about it, like at the time, saying?
Oh yeah, I was.
And you guys pretty much just tried to do what you could.
Yeah, well, like I've always told people, and I've tried to help Scott numerous times, you know, but you know, if I watch Scott for 20 hours, sooner or later I got to sleep.
Right.
And he knows that once you go down, he's a vampire. He'll be on the prowl.
Was it true you and Scott were on double secret probation at all?
We're on double secret probation a couple of times. Yeah. We were on. We got pulled. We used to call it getting pulled into the office. We get pulled into the office every couple of TVs. And we told we'd be sent home. They actually sent Scott to rehab.
Right.
After one time. They sent him to rehab.
When they let, I guess, Scott Hall go for a little bit and get time off, what led you going on TV and campaigning for him to return?
Nobody told me I couldn't.
All right. Did you get heat for that at all?
All the time. But they never told me, we'll fire you if you say this.
All right.
Because then I was going to go into my freedom of speech and, you know, And it was good for TV because it gave us that, you know.
Perfect for the characters.
Yeah, it was what they wanted. Then they started, you know, Russo came in and basically told me, you know, bring up Scott, bring up Scott, bring up Scott, which was great for him.
Knowing that he's going to come back eventually, or
yeah.
TitleMatchNetwork.com